Steve?
Well, it all started when their young son woke up from a bad dream in the middle of the night. He began recounting stories of a fallen World War II pilot. His mother and father never told him those stories. In fact, they think he may have experienced them in a past life. The Leiningers have shared their son James' story all over the world in hopes of shedding light on what we do not know about the afterlife. And James' story, detailed in the book Soul Survivor, has gained so much popularity it's been translated to 10 different languages. And joining me now are Andrea, Bruce, and James Leininger. Thank you all for being with us this morning.
Anytime.
Certainly, you know, we've been sort of hinting at this story all day, and it gives everyone pause because it seems almost impossible. Andrea, can you go through and tell us about James' story? He was two when he started having these dreams.
Right.
And what happened?
It was just after his second birthday. He started having horrific night terrors, remembering that he was in a plane that got shot down and crashed in the water, and he couldn't get out of the plane. And the behaviors that he had when he was having the nightmares were mimicked somebody who was trying to get out of something. It was like he was trapped in a box trying to kick the lid off.
So it seemed very real. Bruce, when you heard this, though, did you think anything of it? I mean, certainly 2-year-olds have nightmares, right?
Well, it was disturbing because it was 4, 5, 6 times a week. It just wasn't incidental night terror that children experience.
And there were drawings, too, James, that you would make that sort of indicated historic truth. Correct. We have some images of those that we can put up, but it was how you would sign them, right? That would give everyone a little bit more information.
That was one of our first clues. He started doing the drawings, and it was almost a pathological process. He would put the planes and the ships, and then he would almost be acting out a battle. He would be shooting and firing, and he started signing the drawings James 3. And it was right when he was 3 years old. He couldn't even sign his name yet. He didn't know how to write his name, which I think people don't realize, that when you're 3, you don't know how to write your name yet.
Exactly.
But he isn't a third James. My husband's name is Bruce, so we kept asking him, well, how come you're signing your name James 3? And he said, I'm the third James.
And what made your parents start researching, James, what that really meant historically? You said the name of another pilot, correct?
I said the names of many pilots from the Toma Bay, Bob Greenwald,
Jack Larson.
Right.
I stated all these names of people that, if only you had been on the ship or you had been able to look at military records, or you knew them personally via family or through just friendships, you wouldn't know that person or their life. And I'm 2, 3, 4. In my very young age is just talking about them.
At 2, he knew the name of the ship. My husband had asked him if he remembered where his plane took off from, and he said it took off from a boat, and he asked if he remembered the name of the boat, and he said Natoma, which is a very bizarre word to come up with when you're 2.
When you're 2. And now, but how do you make the jump from saying, okay, this is some information in my 2-year-old or 3-year-old's mind, to he actually is reincarnated. This person that he's talking about is reincarnated in my son. Right. I mean, how did you get to that point?
Well, he did 3 things very quickly. He gave us the name of the ship. He then told us, he gave us the name of a man that he flew with named Jack Larson.
Yeah.
And then he gave us a location where his plane was shot down.
Sure.
Well, what I found out by contacting a veterans organization, never expecting to confirm this name Jack Larson, I asked a guy named Leo Pyatt, do you remember a guy named Jack Larson? Sure. And he says, oh yeah, he flew off one day and we never saw him again. So it led me to believe initially that that's who had been killed. But we discovered later that there was only one man killed during the Battle of Iwo Jima, and his name was James M. Houston, Jr.
James, can I ask you, so you're young when this starts. It seems like an awful lot of responsibility for a toddler to have, to be carrying the life of a World War II veteran. Where, if you can, even just give us a brief glimpse into what that's like, and where are you now? Do you still feel the way that you might have felt at 3, where you're having these visions and occurrences come to you?
Well, I don't have the nightmares anymore.
Okay.
Those passed after we went to Chichi-jima and reconciled the whole, problem with James Houston. I got to say goodbye, and I guess I kind of just made that just spiritual release from James Houston, and so I don't have the nightmares anymore. But a lot of people ask, well, how can something like this, happen? How would you just know these things? And so I kind of give the example, well, what do you want to be when you grow up? And some people say, oh, I want to be a doctor. And I say, well, is there anything anybody can say change how you feel about, oh, I want to be a doctor? Some people just have this innate knowledge from birth about, I know a lot about weaponry, I know a lot about the military, and it's just, I don't know where it comes from. Some people just know a lot about a specific subject, but where does this come from?
Or maybe it comes from the exact place that you described.
Exactly.
Do you feel that you can live your own life, or do you feel like you cannot separate the two?
Oh, I live my own life every day. I think about James Houston sometimes.
Okay.
I recollect on him. I just think about him sometimes, but it's not really. I can just live my own life freely.
That's good. James, thanks for being here.
Thank
sharing
you.
Your story, Bruce. Do appreciate it, Andrea.
Thanks, Elizabeth.
Thanks for sharing your story. Certainly, others may have similar ones as well. And we will actually have everyone Facebook us in if you have something you want to share with James.